six cliche advice we throw at people without being aware of the misinterpretations of these phrases or advice. And I am guilty of phrase number 6. And I only got aware of that nonsense about phrase number 6 when I became at the receiving end. So let's start with phrase number 1. We learn from our mistakes. No, we don't, because if we learn from our mistake, why are we repeating the same mistake? Please.
Yeah, repeating the same mistake seems to be something very common, and we're all guilty of it. So let's not exclude ourselves. And the reason we repeat mistakes is many mistakes are habits that we have picked up, behaviors that we have never questioned, and we just do them automatically. And we repeat what we hear people saying. We repeat what we've heard parents or teachers or coaches or leaders or somebody saying without actually stopping and asking ourselves, what does it mean? I mean, how do you learn from a mistake? And what's the definition of a mistake? I mean, a mistake in one situation may not be a mistake in another situation. So I'll give you an example. Keeping quiet and being polite means you don't open your mouth and say something when you need to. In one context where that could be quite risky and maybe you're not invited to give your opinion, may be a good idea. Keep quiet because people don't want to hear your opinion. But in another situation, when your own future and fortune is being affected, maybe keeping quiet is a huge mistake. So it's very easy to say we learn from our mistakes. First of all, we need to understand, was it a mistake? And is it something that we want to do or not do next time? And does it have a general statement like that, or is it related to the context? And when you relate it to the context, it makes more sense. One other thing, the only way we can relate to context and learn from mistakes is by taking the time to reflect on what happened last time. Why did we keep quiet? Was it fear? Or was it an understanding that it was inappropriate? Why did we speak up? Was it courage? Or was it existential? Or was it a principle that we wanted to defend rather than just being a silent and compliant auditor? So it's not as easy as it looks.
Phrase number 2. You need to have the right mindset. Right mindset. What is the frame of reference of right? And what does right look like?
Okay, let me take the two words and show that they actually contradict each other. So, right and mindset, when you put them together, you already have a problem because your mindset is based on what you think is right. That's why it's a mindset. So, when you put them together, you already have a big challenge because the way you see the world is through that programming that you have been subjected to all your life, that seems normal, that seems the right way. And that is what your mindset is. Your mindset is a product of learning, values, environment, socialization. So for you, isn't everybody this way? Doesn't everybody see the world like this? So right mindset is already a big, big issue. So by challenging the rightness of somebody's mindset, you're actually challenging a very deep foundational perspective on how they see the world. You're challenging their model of reality. I mean, you certainly wouldn't even go anywhere near religion because that is, I'm not talking about that. Those are beliefs. But your mindset comes from a lot of the beliefs you have.
For example, in order to launch your business, you need to have the right mindset. How do I even know I have
mindset? What is the mindset? Do you know what your mindset is? And does your mindset define the boundaries within which you do business, within which you consider ethics, within which you consider the kind of potential your business may have? It is important to sit down and ask ourselves, what is it that constitutes our mindset. And that's our values, beliefs, and feelings through which our behavior is filtered. And that's what people see. People see the behavior, they see what we say and do. And our beliefs are deeply embedded in that. That's why we don't see something that looks obvious to other people. That's the big divide. What's obvious to you is
Mm.
not obvious to me because in my mindset, that's not right. So, mindset is a very generalized phrase that means something and also means nothing. How do you
Phrase
change
number
it? How do you address it? Sorry, how do you change it and how do you address it to something? Let's find out what it is. Okay.
Phrase number three is not an advice, it's something that we tell ourselves or we tell other people. I had no choice.
Yeah, I had no choice is a statement of surrender and a statement of the lack of perception of what choice is. The very statement, I have no choice,
Mm.
means you have made a choice. And that choice is that you have no choice. So it contradicts itself. It's, in a way, um, an exit from responsibility. When you say, I have no choice, it means you do not see a way out. If you see a way out, you are not willing to take it. And the
Mm.
fact that you're not willing to take it needs to be justified. And the justification is, I have no choice, which is the choice you have made exactly.
So for those who say they have no choice, what do they do?
Ask themselves, what am I trying to escape from? What am I afraid of? Is it a choice that I really want to make, or do I want to stay in the situation because it's comfortable and secure? And for me, certainty is more important than anything else, and that's okay.
Mm.
I have no choice. I don't want to change my situation. I want to complain about it. I want people to sympathize and feel sorry for me when I complain about it. I do not want to change it. And maybe in certain circumstances, it is better to stay with what you have than to try and change it if you do not have the power and the ability to actually make that change. So it's a choice, whether we're conscious of it or not, when we say, I have no choice. But what is driving it? That's what you want to find out.
Phrase number four. A good leader is a leader who makes decision quickly.
Well, I don't know who said that. It depends on what is the decision, what is the context, what are the consequences of the decision. Quick and slow has nothing to do with the quality of the decision,
Mm.
nothing whatsoever to do with the quality of the decision. It may have to do with the context. If the building is on fire, yes, a good leader gets everybody out of the building really fast and takes action. Hopefully, they would have taken a slow decision before, and the building would have been properly protected with, smoke detectors and sprinklers and all the things needed that you take in a slow decision, which is, how do I safeguard my building? How do I make sure that if a fire occurs, people are properly trained and they know the fire drill? Those are slow decisions. The fast decision, if in spite of everything that you have done to secure your building against fire, it's on fire, yes, you need a fast decision then. But fastness by itself is of no value when it's separated from the context. In fact, fast can be very risky depending on the context and what you're doing. Are we running over a cliff? Are we trying to prove that we're right? Are we intent on shutting other people down so they don't have a chance to say their opinion? What is the driving force behind the fast? That's what I would ask. And how do I connect it with leadership? These are cliche statements we repeat without much thought.
Right. And also it depends. For example, some people, some leaders would like to gather information before making a decision. Some leaders ju just jump into making quick decision without having enough facts. Some people are in the middle between the two. I mean, we're different. Leaders are different.
And no two situations are the same.
Cliche number five, overused, and it gets controversial sometimes. Love yourself as you are. And I think Self-love shouldn't be a parking spot. It's just a starting point to grow, to develop, and that's how you love yourself. It doesn't mean that self-love, meaning that I sit and do nothing just because I'm accepting everything and everything right or wrong with me, every flaw that I have. What is your comment on that?
Again, we talk about self-love. What does it mean? It means that if you really pause and think about it, that you want to do the best you can for yourself and to enable yourself to become the best version of that self that you can. It's an important concept because people who dislike themselves may harm themselves, may really destroy themselves psychologically. So at its foundation, the intention is positive, to embrace yourself, to like yourself. But that does not mean surrender and acceptance. In other words, to believe that you are worthy of development, that you are someone who is capable of learning and growth, that you are someone who should take the time to ask the hard questions of who you are, not who you should be, who you want to be, not what other people tell you must be. That's what, the understanding what self-love is making the best of what you have and your resources and looking at how to grow and develop and evolve into someone who is a real value to the world. So fundamental advice is good, but superficiality means that it's misunderstood, misinterpreted, and not used in a way that's constructive and helpful to an individual who may sometimes just go to the store and buy a whole lot of things and describe that as self-love. That's,
Mm.
very well shown in the movie called The Shopaholic. People find interpretations that are very broad and very fanciful and have nothing to do with the reality of our identity, which is what, you know, self-development, self-love is really shaping yourself to become someone you are proud of.
Advice number 6, it's all in your head. What does it mean? When you're at the receiving end, you feel like when you listen to that phrase, it's all in your head, it feels like your problems are not real. I know the intention is that your perception changes your experience. However, how I interpret it, it's like my problems are not real. I'm exaggerating my problems. There is something wrong with me. So how do I get it out of my head? And what are the practical steps that I should do so that I get the problems out of my head overnight? It didn't make sense when I was at the receiving end of this phrase.
If you want to look at it on the most basic level, do they really understand the situation? Do they know why you perceive this as a problem? When they say it's all in your head, does it mean they don't have that problem? And because they don't have that problem, yours can't be real? Does it mean that you're being a spoilt brat and you're looking for attention and they tell you just stop complaining? It's all in your head. Well, for sure,
Mm.
things are indeed in our head because it houses our brain and it receives all the stimuli we get from outside of ourselves and how we interpret it. Probably the very best definition of communication, because when somebody communicates such a statement to you, is in the meaning of communication is in the response it gets. And if
Mm.
your response to that statement is that someone is accusing you of not having a problem and pretending you have a problem, that's something you need to deal with. It's your interpretation. However, if that person making such a statement is someone you really want to engage with, the question that you would want to ask, what exactly is in my head? And how do you know?
Mm.
How do you know? What gives you that insight that I am missing about what's bothering me? And I would really appreciate a conversation for you to help me to discover what exactly is in my head and how is it getting in the way of my success. See, what I'm saying is people make judgments.
Mm.
They express their judgment in words to other people without necessarily considering how it will land, what it means, and most dangerous of all, assuming that they know better. And so the question is, what exactly do you think is in my head? Please tell me. If you want to, not as an aggressive conversation, but as a genuine expression of interest, because it will help both parties. One, to recognize they've made a judgment, and two, to realize that they have made assumptions that may or may not have anything to do with reality about what's in your head. Certainly, a lot of things are in our head. We can't deny it. Our perception, our brain, our thoughts, our values, everything is housed there. But what exactly are we trying to discuss in this situation is a big question. So rather than becoming defensive and offensive,
Mm.
we can ask, I'm sure it is in my head. What do you think it is? And can you help me to understand what's that thing that's locked in my head that's getting in my way?
Thank you. Until the next episode.